So I'm on a Mac right now, and the important button for me to remember is the Option button right here. And what's also important here is to have a 3-button mouse. And so when I say a 3-button mouse, I mean a mouse that's got a left click, a right click, and then a mouse wheel that you can press down on, and then that becomes a third button. So it's really important to have all those buttons available to you. And if you don't have a mouse like that, you can find them for $10. They're really affordable, and it's very much worth your time to get one. So to start things off, I have my cube right there, and so I'm going to press Option, and then I'm going to hold down a normal left-click mouse, and you can see that I'm rotating around my object right here. So that's Option and the left click on your mouse. Next, I'm going to press Option, and I'm going to hold down right click on my mouse, and I'm going to drag from screen left to screen right. So again, I'm holding Option, holding down the right click on my mouse, and then dragging screen left, and you can see my mouse, screen right, and it's zooming in on the object in a controlled fashion here. Alternatively, if I press Option and then drag from right click and then drag from right to left, it'll zoom out. And you can see it's a really controlled zoom in and zoom out right there. You can also do a zoom in and zoom out by doing the mouse wheel, but it's a little, depending on your mouse, it's a little less controlled right here. You can see I kind of zoomed in a little too far, and right now I'm just doing the mouse wheel on my mouse. And so that's another way you can zoom in and out. But you'll find, and it kind of depends on the mouse that you're using, but you can get a lot more control if you right click and then drag from right to left and kind of get this object framed up exactly the way you want. Okay, so next up, we're going to go over the middle mouse button click, which is on most 3-button mice if you just click down on the mouse wheel. So I'm going to hold Option, and now I'm clicking down on the mouse wheel. And you can see that the cursor turns into 4 arrows. And so here I can pan the object around. So I'm not zooming in or out, and I'm not rotating around the object. I'm moving from left to right here. And so those are kind of 3 ways to move the camera right there. So one last thing to show on this is, let's say your object's way over here and you want to zoom in on it. You can kind of struggle to get the camera focused in on it right there. Or you can focus in on it or frame in on it just by pressing the F button on your keyboard, and this works on a Mac or a PC. So just press F, and you see it frames up on the object right there. And when I press Option and then left click, you can see that when I rotate around the object, it stays like locked in on it right there really nicely right there. And so when you press F, it not only focuses in and frames in on your object, but it also refocuses your camera on it so that the pivot point of your perspective lands in the center of the object, so that when I rotate around it, it stays kind of locked in on the object. And that can be super helpful here. Let's see here. Additionally, if your middle mouse button isn't working on here, just check your system preferences here. So if you click on System Preferences and you go under Mouse right here, it's not going to be able to find my mouse right now because I'm actually using a Wacom pen. But if you click on System Preferences and Mouse, look for the middle mouse button and just make sure that it's set up to middle click instead of double click, which sometimes it is by default on Macs and things like that. So if what I'm showing isn't working for you, check your System Preferences and then check on Mouse. And then finally, the way I'm working right now is I'm actually using a Wacom pen. And so the way that I'm doing this is if you click on the Wacom Desktop Center, and then you click on, I'm using an Intuos, and then my pen settings. And if you see here in my settings, I have the click set up as a normal click, left click, right click is the bottom part of my button right there, and then by default I think this is set up to double click, something like that, and I just have it set to middle click. And so now if I click this top part of my pen, that's a middle click, bottom part of the pen, that's a right click, and then down here is the regular click. So a lot of people who are really comfortable using with styluses and things like that can use a stylus as well to navigate around Maya. So that's an alternative that's available to you if you would rather use that than a 3-button mouse. But a 3-button mouse is kind of the industry standard for using this program.